Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy. We start with LSU football on the recruiting trail. Yesterday, Tigers get a commit from Ori Williams, a big offensive lineman who was there at the Bayou Splash event. He's from San Marcos, Texas. Big three-star, 6'7", 300. He comes into LSU's class on the offensive line. And then just within the hour, Joseph Cryer from Natchitoches Central up there in the 318 committed to LSU just a day after decommitting from Ole Miss, where he had been committed. These are both 3 stars and big, physically, additions to this class. But you look and you go, 3 stars, is that really what you want to be recruiting? And I would sit here and tell you, not usually. I don't really care too much about recruiting a bunch of 3 stars. I'd rather have the 4 and 5 star guys. That's where I live as just someone who watches recruiting from afar. But I'll tell you this. If there's one thing that we can count on from Brian Kelly, it's the development of offensive linemen. This was a hallmark of his program at Notre Dame. And so I'm less concerned with the stars next to Joseph Cryer's name, the stars next to Ori Williams' name. You can look at the other offers that they had. Ori Williams was looking at Texas A&M, Texas, and Florida, so that would suggest maybe the coaching staffs in those 3 places are higher on him than the recruiting services are. That appears to be the case at this point. You can look at Joseph Cryer and say, well, he was committed to Ole Miss and Oklahoma State's looking for him. Is that the guy that you want to bring into LSU, where you're supposed to have a top 5 class each and every year and churn guys into the NFL? And say, well, okay, that makes a lot of sense, but let's just look. Let's look at Brian Kelly's track record. Let's look at what he did at Notre Dame. I'm going back to the 2014 draft. Zach Martin, first rounder. Chris Watt, third rounder. Ronnie Stanley, first rounder. Nick Martin, second rounder. Quentin Nelson, first rounder. Mike McGlinchey, first rounder. Liam Eichenberg, second rounder. Aaron Banks, second rounder. Since 2014, Brian Kelly at Notre Dame had 9 offensive linemen drafted, 3 in the first round, 3 in the second round, 2 in the third round, and 1 in the sixth. Well, what has LSU done in that time frame? They recruit a lot of 4 and 5 stars, don't they? Yeah, they do. They've had the same number of offensive linemen drafted in that time, 9, as Notre Dame. How many first rounders to Notre Dame's 3? None. How many second rounders to Notre Dame's 3? 1. If you look in the first 2 rounds of the draft, Notre Dame's turned 6 guys out there, LSU 1. And then LSU had 3 third rounders. Trey Turner, Lloyd Cushenberry, and Damian Lewis. Incidentally, Ethan Posick was the second round pick. Now, LSU's had good offensive lines, and they've had guys drafted. Gerald Hawkins got drafted. Leo Collins would have been drafted higher than this had he not run into the issues that were unfortunate in his case right around draft time. It's not like LSU hasn't been able to block for 10 years. But Notre Dame has churned elite-level players out on the offensive line. And so the question is, how? What's the secret sauce here? Well, I'm not going to give you the secret sauce because it wasn't given to me, but I'll tell you this. I went back to Brian Kelly's introductory press conference. The first day he was in Baton Rouge, and Leah Van from The Advocate said, Coach, you have put a ton of offensive linemen in the NFL. How'd you do that?
Yeah, so, demeanor, right? You're looking at what their demeanor is. Playing that offensive line position requires a profile that I like to stick with. I'm not going to get into the specifics right now, but there's a demeanor, there's a profile, and there's a brotherhood on that offensive line that we build. And that brotherhood is real. Those guys are selfless, and they are the backbone of any great offense that I've ever coached. So
there's a profile, is what he says. And it's pretty obvious if you go back. I'm not going to go back and bring you through every Notre Dame offensive line commitment and signee that Brian Kelly ever had at offensive line, but I did that right out of the chute when we heard that quote. And I can tell you, if you go back and look at Zach Martin, you look at Ronnie Stanley, and you look at Quentin Nelson and Mike McGlinchey, if you go back and look at what they looked like coming out of high school, they all carry the same profile. They have long levers, and they're lean. And they add weight as they get to Notre Dame and through their Notre Dame career. And by that point, they're ready to go be really rich dudes who, in a couple cases there, are probably going to the Hall of Fame. And that's the profile that Brian Kelly is going to recruit to on the offensive line at LSU. Look at this class that he's got coming in on the offensive line. Ethan Callaway, 4-star by some, Rivals on 3-star by 24/7. In any event, he's 6'7", 300. Continue down the line on the offensive front of guys that they're bringing in this class. Ori Williams, 6'7", 300. Same measurable. Joseph Cryer, 6'4", 290. Those are the guys he's going to get. You're not going to see, in most instances with Brian Kelly, 6'3", 345-pound offensive lineman commits. That's not going to be something that Brian Kelly's going to recruit very often. Kyrie Lee is in this class. He's 6'5", 307. Demarion Johnson, that's a defensive lineman, sorry, in this class. I was looking down at one more. That was Ori Williams. But if you look at the last class that LSU signed on the offensive line, because you know about Will Campbell, who was committed prior to Kelly, and you know about Emory Jones, and they fit that profile of tall guys that are lean. But if you look at Zalance Hurd, 6'5", 305. You're going to see far more offensive line commitments that weigh 295 than 340. Now, DJ Chester in last year's class is 6'5", 335. So it's not like never, but that goes back to the demeanor portion. If you put on DJ Chester's film, it's not real pleasant. He's a pretty violent dude. But Tyree Adams from St. Aug, 6'5", 280. That's long and lean. Paul Mabanga, interior offensive line, 6'4", 275. There's a profile. We're now looking over two different classes. So, yeah, like Trey Turner was a great player here and has been a good NFL player. Unfortunately, got hurt right out of the Shooting Saints camp. And there can be plenty of really good offensive linemen that come into school at 350 pounds. But Brian Kelly's not going to recruit to that mold. And so some may be a 3-star, some may be a 4-star, some may be a 5-star. But the track record here is not like one or two guys. It's like a decade. And that's what it's going to look like. And if LSU can get the right guys up front with the talent level that they should be bringing in and always do bring in at the skill positions, it could be real potent. You just got to get them blocked up front. And LSU's been okay at that. But I think with Brian Kelly at the helm, they're going to be great at it. So are they going to steal headlines with these two commitments over the last 24 hours? Probably not. Am I in a position to trust that what he's doing is the right thing? Yeah, I am. Because there's just too much data here that tells me that he knows what he's doing. So we'll talk with Billy Embody a little bit more in depth about these two guys and what we can expect moving forward and some of the other things that went on with the Bayou Splash event. But I'm all in on the way that Brian Kelly has put together his offensive lines. And I think that LSU's is in a position to have really good offensive line play for the foreseeable future. You know about Campbell. You know about Jones. You know about Hurd. You've still got Turner. You've still got Frazier. You're bringing in all the names I just rattled off. There's reason for real optimism on the offensive line. And I don't think that's blind homerism to sit here and tell you that Zach Martin and Mike McGlinchey and Quentin Nelson and Liam Eichenberg and Ronnie Stanley are pretty good players. So I'm happy with the way things are going on offensive line recruiting to this point. Now LSU is kind of getting toward what used to be the limit for your signing class of 25 guys. They've got 22 commitments, but remember, they scrapped that. You don't have a cap anymore. You just can fill the open scholarships. You got guys transfer out, and you've got guys that go early to the draft, and you've got guys that go because they're out of eligibility, and all of a sudden you've got 31, 36 open spots. Fill them. Sign 28 high school guys. Sign 31 high school guys if you want. Or sign 15 high school guys and go get 22 guys out of the portal. Whatever you want to do to fill the numbers, you can do it. And LSU is creeping towards that 25 that used to be your cap, and it is no longer there. So, hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.